For many years, Julian felt as though a quiet river ran through him, steady and unnoticed. It was the rhythm of his life, a pulse that carried him through busy workdays and long evenings. But lately, the river felt different, sometimes rushing too fast against its banks, other times carrying a heavy silt of fatigue. He felt a persistent tension in his neck, a silent pressure that he chose to ignore, dismissing it as the mere price of a life well lived. The signs were quiet, like the first few drops of rain before a storm. Julian's diet was rich in salt and habit, and his boots hadn't seen a long walk in months. He knew his blood pressure was a mounting tide, yet he pushed the thought away. He believed he was invincible, that the river would always find its way, even as the walls of his vessels grew weary from the constant, invisible strain. It happened on a Tuesday, a day like any other. Julian was reaching for a mug when the world suddenly tilted. The river within him hit a sudden blockade, a silent snag that stopped the flow of life to a vital part of his mind. A strange numbness washed over his right side, and the mug slipped from his fingers, shattering against the tile with a sound that felt miles away. Clara entered the room and saw the change instantly. She remembered the warnings they had once read together. Julian's face was no longer symmetrical. The right corner of his mouth drooped as if weighed down by an invisible anchor. "Julian, raise your arms," she whispered, her voice tight with a sudden, sharp clarity. He tried, but his right arm remained heavy and still, refusing to obey her command. When Julian tried to speak, the words came out as a tangled web of sounds, unrecognizable and jagged. Clara didn't hesitate. She knew that in the world of the river, time was the most precious currency. Every second lost was a bend in the stream that might never be cleared. She reached for the phone, her fingers steady as she dialed for the help that lived behind those 3 life-saving numbers. The hospital was a blur of blue scrubs and bright lights. Dr. Peters spoke with a calm authority, explaining that a small clot had acted like a fallen tree in Julian's internal river. She spoke of ischemic events and TPA, the medicine that could dissolve the barrier if given in time. Julian listened, the fog in his mind slowly beginning to thin as the specialists worked to restore the flow. Understanding was the bridge to recovery. Julian learned that his stroke was not just an accident, but a culmination of years of ignored warnings. The path back would be a slow trek through a different landscape. He began physical therapy, learning to command his right leg to move once more. Each small step was a victory, a way of rerouting the river around the damage that had been done. Back at home, the rhythm of life changed. Clara became his partner in this new navigation. They cleared the cupboards of the salt and the processed shadows of their old life. She walked with him every evening, their pace slow but intentional. They learned to manage the pressure of the river with medication and movement, ensuring the banks remained strong and the water clear. Recovery was not a destination, but a way of being. Julian realized that managing his health was like tending to the river's source. He spoke to his friends about the signs, the face, the arms, the speech, and the vital importance of the clock. He was no longer the man who ignored the silent pressure. He was a guardian of his own flow, respecting the power of the life within him. That evening, Julian and Clara sat on their porch, the air cool and the stars beginning to blink into existence. The heaviness had lifted, replaced by a profound gratitude for the second chance he had been given. He felt the steady, healthy pulse in his wrist, a river that was now carefully tended and respected. Together, they watched the horizon.
knowing they were ready for the long, quiet journey ahead.
Subscribe to Med Simple TV for more simple and clear health education videos every week.